I'm double dipping again on Hockenson. This will be the third time in a row over the last 2 weeks, basically on Monday Night Football for Zach Ertz for Week 6, Thursday Night Football with Noah Fant for Week 7. They both hit, so both TJ Hockenson props we're in on. We're double dipping now. Of course, the number has gone a little bit down, but screw it. We'll lock it in at 34.5, which is what it was this morning when I checked it out over on DraftKings. And the other thing I mentioned this week is I'm taking L's on props in many ways, in many cases, because I don't take the reception props because the odds are too big. So every once in a while, I think I'm going to throw one in here. And this isn't that bad at minus 146 over 3.5. As we've mentioned, they give up, does LA, the 6th fewest receiving yards and the 5th fewest receptions per game to tight ends. I think that's why these numbers are pretty low. But they haven't played anyone of note, as we mentioned. Tyler Warren got him last week, 4 grabs, 69 and a touch on 5 targets. Darren Waller the week before got him for 21 yards on only 2 grabs, but a touch. Back in Week 4, they also gave up 4 for 40 and a touch to giant tight ends. I looked into the numbers. Out of 34 tight ends to run at least 75 routes, Hockenson's .42 fantasy points per route run against cover 3 is 13th best. His .38 fantasy points per route against cover 4 is 9th best. And he'll see those shells, again, 59% of the time. And he's up over 2 yards per route run on both of those shells combined. So 60% of the time, based on previous numbers, he's up against shells that he crushes, basically. And he has averaged 5.3 catches per game for 43 yards with Carson Wentz on 6.5 targets. They're 3.5-point road underdogs. We're likely looking at another 35, 40 pass attempts for Carson Wentz. And not for nothing, but Hockenson got hosed on a touchdown call last week that was called a touchdown and overthrown or overturned. So maybe you just get some good karma coming out of that because no one knows what a catch is. Sorry, we don't know. Next up, Lad McConkey. It's a little risky, but 55.5, I think we can get there. It's not an incredible schematic matchup, but he will see a lot of Josh Metellus, the slot corner, who gets targeted at the 5th highest rate among all starting corners out there in the National Football League in Week 8 per fantasy points data. He gives up .36 fantasy points per route run. That's the most among their top 3 corners. I think he'll probably need to catch 5 balls to get here, but this is a passing offense now. Forget about Greg Roman's history. Shout out Greg Roman, Atlantic County, New Jersey. But still, he loves running the rock, but they're throwing it a ton, 42 pass attempts a game in their last 5. And the Vikings are potent enough, I think, to keep him throwing. Getting Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins back will probably help out with, obviously, the protection and also maybe, some downfield routes. Lad's not a huge downfield guy, but he can do it. He does it. He's not as dangerous downfield as, let's say, Quentin Johnston, but he can do it. He can run. He can fly. Absolutely. Next up, I'm going to keep going to this well until I lose. I think I'm 2-0 here the last couple of weeks. Carson Wentz over 10.5 rushing yards. Now, give him credit. He got the crap beaten out of him last week, but he still kept coming, and he ran late in the game. LA allows the 3rd most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks, along with the 10th most schedule-adjusted fantasy points per game to quarterbacks in the running game only. He has been banged up, but he's not on the injury report. Doesn't even have a designation. And if you look at the game logs, the rushing production has crept up in each of his last 3 games, starting off with 2 for 4 in his debut, then 2 for 12, then 3 for 13. We won that by like a yard. Then last week, 4 for 28. They're 3.5-point road underdogs again. Should see 40-plus pass attempts, which I think gives them a good chance to take off and run 2 to 3 times. Next up, going a little weird here, we're going with Jalen Nailor, 15.5. Ancillary guys like Nailor, always a little risky, but on the other hand, you could hit it on one play. 15.5, we can absolutely do that because this guy's had 3 to 5 targets in all 6 games, 2 or more catches, and 28 yards or more in 5 of 6. As I mentioned earlier, He came up small in week 4 in Ireland with only 1 catch for 2 yards, but that was the ugliest game that they played with Carson Wentz. His longest reception in each of the other games would hit this number: 26, 20, 22, 17, and 28. And again, he'll see a lot of Still, the nickel corner, who gives up the most fantasy points per route among their top 3 corners. And again, 35, 40 pass attempts likely, with the Vikings being 3.5 road underdogs. Last one, and it's, look, you don't want to play it, don't play it. Aaron Jones expected to play, so this number may creep down. So maybe wait. All I know is I think Jordan Mason can get to 55 yards rushing. Xavier Scott is also questionable. I mean, are we really going to give Aaron Jones a lot in the running game? Probably not. Maybe have him out there. Good receiver. Maybe that hurts Hockenson a little bit, as we mentioned. But I think Mason's pretty good. The Chargers allow the 3rd most adjusted yards before contact, 2.43. That's a lot. 5.3 yards per carry. 13th most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to running backs. Got crushed by Taylor, Achane, and Krosky Merritt for, doing some quick math here, like almost 380 yards and like 7 tutties. I mean, like ridiculous. Out of 37 running backs with at least 50 carries, Mason is 5th with a 64% success rate on man and gap concept runs, and his 4.8 YPC on those runs is 10th best among those 37 running backs with at least 50 carries. And a solid 43% of his runs are on those concepts against which the Chargers give up a 56.5% success rate. That's the 7th highest in football, and 4.9 yards per carry. That's the 9th highest, and also 5 tutties. That is the 5th most. I think the Vikings desperately need to run the ball to stay ahead of the down, to avoid Carson Wentz being in 3rd and long situations. Hopefully they get Christian Darrisaw out there at left tackle, but we are going to get Donovan Jackson, Brian O'Neill, and somebody else. But maybe the backup center, who was out a couple of weeks ago. So they still are without their starting center. So if they get Darrisaw back, we do have 4 of 5 starters on the O-line. I do have a touchdown prop that I'll pop out now. It's kind of a little bit tied into the Lad McConkey prop, because I have noticed every time I go on a Lad McConkey prop, it probably hits half the time, but it's always like this annoyingly good Keenan Allen. So to protect myself just a little bit, because he does have a good schematic matchup, I'm going for an anytime touchdown for Keenan Allen. I think at 1 plus 165, that's decent. So let's do that and hope that Oronde Gadsden, the rookie, is not a factor. We do have one more order of business. It is your Thursday night special, and we're going to go with an alternative total of 50 yards or more for Mr. T.J. Hockenson. This is National Tight End Week, I should mention. I believe a holiday invented by George Kittle. And all the tight ends, I believe, didn't they go off last year? So let's start off Tight End Week with T.J. Hockenson at 50 yards or more at plus 201. It's right there with the touchdown. I almost went with the touchdown. I think this is maybe a little safer. So there it is.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at 0 cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.